Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching and Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channels. And we are here with the Rebellion review for 2001. 2021. Easy for me to say. And it is the Rebellion Impact pay per view for this year. Overall, a big show for this company, and really, even though Impact is a smaller company, I would say the most historic event for a number of reasons under this specific management and name. There are quite a number of reasons why this is historic. Most notably, because in fact, your new I guess Impact and AEW and AAA champion is Kenny Omega. We'll get there in the main event. Not that you would be worried about spoilers if you're listening to this, but sorry for those who care about spoilers. Anyway, we open with Josh Alexander defeating X Division champion Ace Austin with Madman Fulton and TJP to become the new X Division champion. I'm not necessarily a fan of this. I know a lot of people like Alexander. He's too bland for me. But this is reminder of the earlier X Division where they just base it around two or three talents like they used to with Loki and AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels, or at other times it was AJ and Joe and Daniels or whatever, and kind of continue going in their combination and have good matches. Match winners and losers have been trading wins in this as of late over the last several months. Austin defeats TJP to recapture the championship within the last few months. Match is obviously fast-paced from the start. Good way to kick off the show. They basically do the pair-up with two guys going at it, one guy out almost on a regular basis. However, the action remains consistent. Alexander goes for a series of submissions, throws, and slams. TJP has a combination of high flying and submission. Majority submission for him here. He hits high flying moves, more toward the close of the match. Austin is heelish and doing everything he can. Everybody gets near falls towards the end. Austin hits the fold on TJP. Alexander cuts him off. Alexander gets a divine intervention on TJP just to get a near fall there. And then we get Austin. TJP hits a strong near fall with the Mamba splash on Alexander, getting pulled out of the ring by Austin's second in Madman Fulton, a guy who I think they should be doing more with. At the end, TJP and Fulton are both out. Alexander hits a divine intervention on Austin for the win and becomes the new X Division champion. Again, Ace Austin is a guy I would be building the entire company around, so him losing doesn't exactly thrill me. But anyway, D'Lo Brown and Matt Striker run down the card. They announced Eric Young is being replaced after suffering an injury against Eddie Edwards. Violent by Design cut a promo, Young saying he's injured, but is still the leader of the group. He addressed his replacement saying that he's not ready for the group, and this is his opportunity to show he is Violent by Design. Adoring Diener and Rhino with Mosley with Eric Young or Morrissey. Defeated Eddie Edwards, Willie Mack, James Storm, Chris Sabin, and obviously the man replacing Young is the man formerly known as Big Cass, here known as obviously the man replacing is the former Big Cass, otherwise known as W. Morrissey. I don't like the name, but whatever. Maybe they didn't have a lot of time to think about it. Maybe they don't think about these things as much as you used to in the time when wrestling actually, counted for something. In any event, The match itself was kind of flat. I don't like multi-person matches. I've made that perfectly clear. This is just a bit of a smudge. Match starts with a pair of both teams, back and forth. Violent by Design team is obviously filled with bigger guys, including Doring and now the former Big Cash. Morrissey pulls and pairs up with Storm, and then Storm has a speed advantage, obviously. Morrissey uses his size and power, cuts off Storm from the corner, allowing Violent by Design to work him over for a good bit of time. Not long enough to really end the match or anything. Mac gets the hot tag against Diener, recovers and takes Mac down. Match gets nuts with a bunch of spots for the sake of spots, and takes down Morrissey and Doring outside with a dive. Edwards and Sabin. Babyface team hits a couple of basic moves on Diener and almost gets the win. Morrissey comes in, destroys them all, and gets himself a tag before the brawl spills to the floor again. Sabin superplexing Diener to the floor over every guy in the match. Not a fan of this. Bit too much. Back in the ring, Mac takes out Doring with a stunner. Not a fan of Mac, so don't approve of that either. Doring has a lot more potential, at least from where I sit. Mosley is there. He's the legal man. Blocks the stunner, hits a big boot, and the Easter River Crossing picks up a win. If you like ECW style matches, I guess this would be for you. If you're over that and it's 20 years ago, this wouldn't be for you. Post-match, he keeps attacking Mac until referees stop him. Then we go to Brian Myers and Matt Cardona. Myers eventually defeats Cardona. Story of the match is pretty basic. Myers keeps running from Cardona and has been for several weeks. Myers starts the match with hit and run until Cardona hits the guardrail. Myers has control. He works over Cardona's back in the ring. Cardona keeps trying to get a comeback, gain some momentum. Myers cut him off. Cardona then has to rely on going after Miley after his Myers' newly recovered eye, which is just a ripoff of the Rey Mysterio storyline from, last year? A year before, whenever. Everything runs together. Anyway, match spills to the floor. Cardona hits radio silence on the ramp, and he also sells that he hurts his back with the move, so that means you're not very intelligent to have done it. Myers keeps the hit and run approach going. A bunch of near falls between the real-life best friends. Radio silence again, only to get tossed and have a bad landing on his leg. Referee hits the arm signal. Cardona gets up with 2 roster cuts, picks up a win. This doesn't make sense. Why do the arm signal for danger and then kill it? Anyway, so Myers could be used better, but this isn't totally bad. Gia Miller interviews Tony Khan and Shivani Lynn and referee Aubrey Edwards. They tried to big league on Impact. D'Amore cuts him off. Referee tonight's is Brian Hebner. Khan doesn't trust him. And there we go. Jordana Grace and Rachel Ellering defeated the Knockout champions, Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz, to become the new champions. They've been kind of running from this match for a while in the sense of Jazz is playing the role that the returning, at least I think she's returning, Rachel Ellering is putting into Impact. If this is her first time in Impact, I apologize. But Ellering is a young lady that I enjoy. She's got a lot of potential. Anyway, Grace has basically been a thorn in the side of the champions for a while. What with the Jazz storyline? Commentary says that Jazz has filed for a manager's license and looking to continue her career as a manager. Not necessarily a fan of this. Hogan and Steels basically cut the ring off for the majority of the match. Power versus speed style clash. Match starts with Ellering and Grace using their power over Hogan and Steels. Steels cuts off Grace, and the double team by the champion successfully gets her away from the corner. Grace isolates her and works her over and gets consistent tags and pin attempts and some kicks from all corners. Grace manages to trick Hogan and Steels to take each other out and tag Ellering in. Ellering has a decent hot tag, and Grace comes back in. There is an ugly spot where Steels lands ugly on the apron, and Grace hits a dive, and it just looked really awkward and like no one was in sync. Ellering and Hogan are in the ring, and Sky High for the win. Grace and Ellering win the tag team titles. Ellering is a champ in her first match. Not sure where you go from there. Then we go to Trey Miguel defeating Sami Callihan in a last man standing match. I'm not a fan of last man standing matches because they're overdone, not because the matches can't be good. Miguel has been trying to up his game, and Callihan has been shutting him down for weeks. Match starts really going into high gear within the first 60 to 90 seconds. Callihan tosses Miguel to the floor, and there's a stiff landing. Match continues on the floor with back and forth action, and Miguel crashes and burns into the rail. Callihan continues to attack with chains and chairs and even a wrench. Slams Miguel into the legs of a table, and ouch, Miguel keeps getting up. Callihan pile drives him into the table. The legs on the table bend, but the table doesn't break. Callihan hits a second pile driver on the steel steps and sits on the steps to keep Miguel trapped, but it's against the ring. And Miguel sneaks out from behind. This is an interesting spot that I haven't seen in one of these matches before, so I'm good with that. Hits a running cutter on the table. Miguel is able to stand up. Callihan can't. Miguel wins. Match has some good pieces to it, but like all of these matches, feel anticlimactic when guys get up and walk away. GM Miller interviews Rich Swann prior to his match. Swann said that this is the biggest match in the industry and of his career. He said that Callis did get in his head at first, but now he's focused on defending Impact and the championships tonight. Said that both men's biggest match in their careers because neither he or Omega has ever been title versus title match between promotions before. Swann said that this was his house and he wasn't going to let Omega in his house. Well, that ended up being incorrect, but whatever. Anyhow, Impact Tag Team Champions Finn Juice Robinson, and David Finlay versus Good Brothers Carl Anderson, Dark Gallows. This has been building for about 2.5 months. When Finn Juice came in, defeated, and then went to Japan. Match starts with Finn Juice in control. Some double team moves. They work together really well as a team. I've always liked Finlay from the limited stuff I've seen of him in Japan, and glad to see him getting some American TV time. Anderson and Gallows get a little bit of control. Gallows is left alone with Finlay, and Good Brothers do end up working over Finlay for a little bit, and obviously they are really good heels, so it works. They work him over for a couple of minutes, and he takes quite a beating. Gallows tags out, and Finlay dodges the rush. Gets tagged to Robinson. Robinson comes in, clears house, has a good comeback in a series of near falls, including one on Anderson after a rolling cannonball. Finn Juice lands a couple of double team moves, and they set up the Doomsday Device. Gallows throws Finlay into the top turnbuckle and off to the floor. Good Brothers set up Magic Killer. Finlay makes it in time to make the save. Robinson, who uses the momentum, rolls through Gallows and retains the titles. They could have gone longer with this and it would have been fine. Miller interviews Don Callis. She hoped for Omega, but obviously Callis was there to do the talking for him. He said that Omega's ready to make history, and Callis congratulates Swann for getting him out of his head, but still he had to wrestle the greatest wrestler ever. And if Omega is the greatest wrestler ever, then it's official. Wrestling has passed me by. Callis tells Swann that he thinks he has a family in this roster, but will they be there when he loses the title? Callis is really good at being an old school heel. In our semi-main event, the ladies go on, which I like because it makes the ladies equal to the gentlemen. The Virtuoso Deanna Purrazzo with Susie and Kimberly defeats Tenille Dashwood, thankfully, with Caleb with a K to retain the title. Not much of a backstory. They've kind of been teasing it for a while. Purrazzo starts focusing on Dashwood's arm, working towards the armbar, and the Vios de Milo. Dashwood slows her down and uses some speed to counter and escape. Purrazzo's offense focuses on her head, working towards the kick that she uses. Dashwood locks on a Muda lock on Purrazzo for near submission. Susan and Lee distract the referee. Caleb tries to take them out, only to get taken out himself. Good spot there. I wish they were doing more with Caleb Connolly, but they're not, and I have to get over it. Purrazzo goes for diving headbutt. Dashwood moves out of the way. She hits a spotlight kick for a big near fall. Lee pulls her out. Dashwood takes out both Susan and Lee, and back in the ring, Dashwood escapes the Fujiwara armbar, only to be taken out by the Queen's Gambit. 1, 2, 3. Purrazzo's victorious. Match did not live up to expectations, but I wasn't expecting that much with Dashwood in there anyway. Post-match, Trio attacks Dashwood. Out comes Taylor Wilde for her return. She's wearing old gear. Wilde takes out Susan and Lee. Purrazzo runs away. Brown and Stryker announced that Under Siege is May 15th. Against All Odds is set for June 12th, and Slammiversary is for July. Samoa Joe and Lauren Van Ness are shown in that promo. Mauro Ranallo joins the commentary team to make this really feel like a big match. This is obviously, I would say, the biggest match in Impact history, maybe even one of the biggest matches all the way back through the TNA deal, because I would say that AEW has been taken more seriously than TNA ever was. Story coming into the match continues. Match starts with Omega getting cocky for his own good. Swann basically goes after all the cheap shots from the last month, and Swann takes out Omega with a good amount of offense for the first, I'd say, third to half the match. It turns around. Omega tosses Swann to the floor. Swann tries to rebound. Omega tosses him upwards, and he lands headfirst on the apron, injuring his neck. From then on, Omega starts working over Swann's head and neck. Swann then makes a quick comeback, which triggers a series of back and forth action for both men. Omega starts to go for V-triggers. Swann then comes with some near falls of his own, and then Swann is caught off balance for the majority of time. He does get a few strikes here and there, but he looks behind with Omega. Omega's down, and there's some near falls, including one off a frog splash. Swann is going to kind of get things there, but Omega actually has to throw himself onto the mat because of a botched spot. Omega starts landing a bunch of dragon suplexes. Swann counters and goes for the lethal injection. Omega pulls the referee out and takes the cutter instead. Omega goes to use a chair. Referee Edwards takes the chair away from him, and this distraction allows Swann to recover and catch Omega with a cutter. And La Magistral, 3-quarter roll for near fall. Swan dodged a V-trigger, hits the Michinoku driver for a near fall of his own, and then Swan goes for Phoenix Splash. Omega dodges and hits a V-trigger, and then there's a J Driller. Swan keeps kicking out. Swan's made to look like $1,000,000. Hopefully he shows up on Dynamite soon because it'd be worth it. Omega lands a series of unprotected V-triggers. Swan drops from the last one. Omega hits a third in front of Edwards and Mac, and then Omega goes in for the kill. Swan wakes up for one last glimmer of hope, going for a Phoenix Splash. Omega moves out of the way, hits a V-trigger, and a one-winged angel for the win. Kenny Omega is now a TNA, Impact, AAA, and AEW world champion. So I guess technically if you wanted to go 4 belts or 3 promotions, either way, that's Omega now. Overall, not a bad show, worth checking out. Until next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment.